For Mercedes GLA customers, EQ Power means the addition of the plug-in hybrid technology that features in this clever GLA 250e variant. It can travel up to 37 WLTP rated miles on a single charge that can be completed from 10 to 100% in just an hour and 45 minutes from a 7.4 kilowatt garage wall box. And the 1.33 litre petrol engine and 75 kilowatt electric motor produce a sprightly 218 horsepower total output, yet a super low 32 grams per kilometre CO2 reading. This is a car that's eco-conscious as well as fashion-conscious. If you can afford it, this Mercedes is easy to like.
The Mercedes EQ Power brand covers almost every kind of electrification, from mild hybrids and full EVs in the company's larger models to the space-efficient plug-in hybrid powertrain which fits into this maker's more compact cars. It's that latter PHEV tech that we're looking at here, specifically as applied to the Stuttgart manufacturer's smallest SUV, the GLA. The GLA 250e shares the same plug-in powertrain as the A-Class, the B-Class and the CLA, a setup that in many ways right now just happens to set the segment standard. But can it justify a significant price premium over the conventional petrol and diesel versions of this GLA? Well, let's take a look. Behind the wheel, you're greeted with an EQ starting screen, and once you've pressed the starter button on the dash, a green ready icon accompanied by a few distant whirs and clicks. As usual with the PHEV, the powertrain always starts up in all-electric form, and also, as you'd expect from a PHEV, it powers you away with a very decent turn of speed. This plug-in petrol hybrid model uses the PHEV powertrain, which is also fitted in Mercedes A, B and CLA ranges. With this, the 163 horsepower version of the volume 1.3 litre petrol unit is here paired with the 8-speed Mercedes auto transmission, and it's mated to a 75 kilowatt electric motor powered by a 15.6 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery. That's enough to produce a very healthy 218 horsepower system output with a gutsy 450 newton meters of torque, and that's enough to dispatch 62 in 7.1 seconds on the way to 136 miles an hour if you don't care about prolonging your potential driving range, and that's WLTP rated at a very class competitive 37 miles. This is progress that you can monitor via a neat selectable energy flow screen that's available from the Center Dash Monitor's EQ menu, which shows you in real time what's being driven by what. This car has a pleasing preference for battery-powered motoring, and there's an extra electric dynamic select drive mode for use if, once you get going, you want to prevent the combustion engine cutting in. In theory, you can stay in battery drive all the way up to 87 miles an hour. Alternatively, an electric in city option allows you to save battery charge for urban driving that you might want to do later on in your trip. Either way, you can maximize battery range with careful use of the steering wheel paddle shifters there when you're in electric mode, not to switch ratios but to vary levels of brake energy recuperation. Although it's easier just to pull hard on either one, this then selects a radar-based D-Auto recuperation program, and that basically does it all for you. A couple of minor dynamic differences separate the 250e model's drive experience from the more conventional GLAs. One isn't much of an issue: the 8G DCT auto gearbox's greater preference to continually shift up to longer ratios in pursuit of better economy. The other might be, though, a noticeable degeneration in ride quality, which you feel over really poor surfaces and speed humps. That's brought on by an extra 150 kilos of battery weight and by the engineering necessity of switching this plug-in model to a less sophisticated torsion beam rear suspension setup. Otherwise, the driving experience here isn't very much different to that of any other mainstream GLA, which means that, as we said at the beginning, on mainstream versions of this car, ride quality is vastly better than was served up by the first generation model. Just as well as for our market, Mercedes continues to refuse to offer adaptive damping as an option. Yes, the car can still struggle over particularly bad surfaces, but once you speed up, you'll find it deals with camber changes and undulations with the surety of a far more expensive SUV. As with any small crossover of this kind, there's no particular sense of engagement to be had in pushing on through the turns, but if you do, you'll note the first-rate body control, and that's aided by the stiffer platform and the wider tracks, and the light but pleasingly accurate steering. BMW X1 is probably a bit more dynamic, and an Audi Q3 is probably a bit more comfort-orientated, but in neither case would the difference be likely to sway you against GLA ownership if you found yourself attracted by the frisson of quality here and by the lure of the three-pointed star, of course. Visual differentiators as to this variant's plug-in status are limited to subtle EQ power labelling on the front wings and the 250e badging at the back. Otherwise, unless you happen to notice the extra EV charging flap on the driver's side, you'd think this was any other GLA. All PHEV GLA models are trimmed to a level equating to various AMG line levels of spec in the ordinary range, which means you get quite a sharp exterior look thanks to a package of AMG specific touches, various extra chrome elements, plus bespoke front air intakes and a high gloss chrome front splitter. Plus there's this diamond style single louvre radiator grille embellished by chrome pins. At the rear, the bespoke rear air outtakes and chrome dual flow exhaust pipes are also from the AMG catalogue. Of course, as usual, what's more important is the stuff you can't see. In this case, the sophisticated MFA2 compact car platform, which was engineered specifically with a view to providing for this plug-in hybrid system in use here. Inside, you're greeted by an EQ branded startup screen in the instrument cluster, plus there's an additional EQ menu for the centre dash infotainment monitor with charging options, consumption, energy flow, vehicle and engine sections. Otherwise though, the cabin is pretty much exactly as it would be on any mainstream conventionally engined GLA. That means it really does feel very premium in here indeed, with man-made leather stitched seats, glossy piano black centre console that flows up into the dash, and curious tubular silver door grab handles. Plus, of course, as usual with the modern compact Mercedes, there's the usual high-tech cabin screen fest on show. On a GLA 250e, this touchscreen media display in the centre of the dash, that will always be of the largest 10.25-inch size, but depending on spec, this instrument cluster monitor will either be 7 inches, as here, or 10.25 inches. This whole MBUX twin screen setup can be activated by prodding on the monitors, by various neat touchpads, or by the provided Hey Mercedes voice activated functionality. Aside from media connectivity features, the main thing of note is the commanding nature of this seating position. And of course, as ever in a Mercedes, you're surrounded by premium touches like these intricately fashioned double-stitched door cards and the circular silver jet engine style vents which decorate the dash and are an integral part of the classy ambient lighting system which brings the interior alive at night. Luxury downsizers will love it all. In the back, the PHEV system seems to have brought no discernible compromises in the accommodation provided for passengers. That's because, cleverly, the fuel tank has been integrated into the space around the axle installation, and that creates additional room beneath the rear bench for the high-voltage battery. It all means that, as with an ordinary GLA, legroom is pretty generous by class standards. Someone well over 6 foot tall could sit behind a similarly sized front passenger and still have leg space. Plus, there's plenty of room to slide your feet underneath the base of the chair in front. Where the plug-in tech usually does compromise things a bit is when it comes to trunk space, but Mercedes designers say they've worked hard to ensure that battery boot intrusion is minimal. For this model, they've created a special exhaust system layout which ends in a centrally positioned outlet under the vehicle floor, with the rear silencer housed in the transmission tunnel. Which all sounds promising, but when the standard EasyPack powered tailgate rises, you're still faced with a 50-litre reduction over the boot capacity of a conventional GLA. There's 385 litres of capacity on offer. Still, the space you get is slightly more than you'll get in a comparable Audi Q3 TFSIe, although it is 65 litres down on what you could expect from a BMW X1 xDrive 25e. Overall, most customers should be able to live with what's available here, though. Something like a folded baby buggy should easily fit, and there is a 40-20-40 split folding seat back, which when it's flattened can free up as much as 1,010 litres of space up to window level, or up to 1,385 litres if you load to the roof. Mercedes has priced this GLA 250e plug-in at around the same level as the top GLA diesel, the 190 horsepower GLA 220d, which costs around £39,000, but unlike this PHEV, has standard 4MATIC four-wheel drive. If you're comparing against a petrol model for this plug-in hybrid, you'd be looking at needing to find around £2,700 more than would be necessary for a comparably specified version of the fastest conventional petrol model, that is the 224 horsepower GLA 250. There are three GLA 250e trim levels, this exclusive edition variant, then there's exclusive edition premium, and if you can stretch all the way up to just over £42,000, then there's the top exclusive edition premium plus. As for rivals, well, the most direct one is Volvo's front-driven XC40 T4 Recharge plug-in hybrid, which will save you around £2,500 over this plug-in Mercedes. The BMW X1 xDrive 25e, that'll also save you money, around £1,000, and that has the added advantage of all-wheel drive. You will need to pay quite a lot more if you want the premium compact SUV sector's two other PHEV offerings. Those are the Audi Q3 45 TFSIe and the Jaguar E-Pace P300e, but that is because those two cars offer quite a lot more power than this GLA 250e does. But they would certainly come into play as rivals if you were looking at, for example, plusher versions of this Mercedes plug-in model. If, having considered all the various alternatives, you conclude that there's nothing quite like a GLA 250e, then you're going to need to know just how generous Mercedes has been with the all-important standard spec. Now, the three trim levels just mentioned are based almost exactly on AMG Line Executive, AMG Line Premium and AMG Line Premium Plus, those trim designations in the mainstream GLA range, and that means you get quite a lot. Even this base exclusive edition variant comes with 18-inch 5 twin-spoke alloy wheels, LED high-performance headlamps, polished aluminium roof rails and an EasyPack powered tailgate. Plus there's power folding mirrors too, a reversing camera and all-round parking sensors. Inside, the upholstery, that's trimmed in black Artico man-made leather, plus you also get heated front seats, thermotronic automatic climate control, and there's a dynamic select driving mode system too. Perhaps our favourite standard cabin touch, though, is the car wash function. Now, there's a single tap to activate and the exterior mirrors fold in, the side windows close, the windscreen wipers remain switched off, and the climate control switches into air recirculation mode. Very neat. Media connectivity is taken care of by the clever MBUX, Mercedes-Benz User Experience Multimedia Infotainment System, and that's controlled by two high-resolution screens. With this base exclusive edition trim, you get a 7-inch one in the instrument cluster and a 10.25-inch touchscreen media display in the centre of the dash. The MBUX system is built around the brand's Hey Mercedes voice activation system, which you'll quickly find yourself using to operate many of the interior features. These include a 100-watt DAB audio setup, Bluetooth and a live traffic information feature, which is free for the first 3 years of ownership. There is hard disk navigation too, of course, plus 3 years use of the Mercedes Navigation Services setup. And that allows the car to answer questions about your journey, so things like fuel prices along your route, available parking spaces at your destination, or even the current weather. There is also the brand's smartphone integration package. Now that gives you Apple CarPlay and Android Auto smartphone mirroring. If you can afford more, then Exclusive Edition Premium Trim gives you a 10.25-inch instrument cluster screen size upgrade, plus an uprated 255-watt 10-speaker advanced sound system, augmented reality navigation, keyless entry, and the 64-colour ambient lighting system. Top Exclusive Edition Premium Plus spec further embellishes that with sophisticated multi-beam LED headlamps, a panoramic glass roof, and powered front seats with memory settings and lumbar support. On to safety. As standard, you get active brake assist, autonomous braking, active lane keeping assist, attention assist, speed limit assist, and an eCall emergency call system, which will automatically alert the emergency services as to your exact GPS location should the airbags be deployed in an accident. With the top Exclusive Edition Premium Plus model, you'll also be offered an optional driving assistance package, and that includes 8 key extra camera-driven safety elements, amongst which are also features that give this car some limited autonomous driving capability. Now these include active blind spot assist, and active braking assist with cross-traffic function, active emergency stop assist, an evasive steering assist feature, and a clever route-based speed adjustment feature too, which works with GPS data to automatically adapt your speed before curves, roundabouts and junctions. The autonomous driving tech part comes courtesy of the PAC's Active Distance Assist Distronic system, which is designed to operate on a dual carriageway and which works with the Mercedes Active Steering Assist setup. It also works the Active Speed Limit Assist feature, which automatically sets the cruise control to speed limit signs as you pass them. And finally, Active Steering Assist keeps you in the centre of your designated lane, and it will, if needed, apply subtle steering correction to ease you back to where you ought to be. It's all very reassuring. As mentioned in our driving experience section, this electrified derivative mates a 1.33 litre petrol engine with a gearbox mounted 75 kilowatt electric motor, and that's powered by a 50.6 kilowatt hour battery, and it's able to provide an electric range of 37 miles. Like all PHEVs, GLA 250E can charge its battery on the move. When accelerating or braking, the powertrain's mechanical rotation is converted into recuperated electrical energy, and it's used to charge the high voltage battery. The driver can also have a major influence on the recuperation process when in the provided electric mode by using the provided paddles behind the steering wheel here. The paddle on the left increases the level of recuperation, while the paddle on the right reduces it. With a long pull on either paddle shifter though, the intelligent mode D-Auto is activated, and it uses a radar sensor and navigation data to automatically adjust the recuperation level to the traffic situation, so you don't have to. At the wheel of a GLA 250E, the main instrument screen always shows a battery charge percentage, but your primary access point for monitoring range, charging and the functionality of the PHEV powertrain is on the EQ menu on the center dash screen. This has 5 sections. The first covers your charging options. Now from here you're set the departure time, your maximum charge current, plus there's an electric in city option which allows you to save charge for urban driving that you might have to do at the end of a journey. The second EQ section covers energy consumption, with graphs showing fuel consumption and electrical recuperation over 4 recent time periods, the last 7.5, 30 or 90 minutes, or over the last 3 hours. The EQ menu also gives you an energy flow monitor, so you can see in real time how the powertrain's working. And there's a vehicle section which shows you the car's angle, the outside temperature, and the percentage of acceleration or braking that you're currently using. There is also an engine section there which shows output, torque, battery voltage, and charge air pressure. You also might like to keep a close eye on the trip part of the instrument screen menu. Now that has various selectable efficiency options. There's an eco display to help you to drive more economically. There's an EQ power percentage meter. There's a screen that shows your consumption in gallons per hour and also in kilowatts per hour, plus a further one that details your remaining petrol powered and full electric driving range. Let's give you some more details on charging your GLA 250E. Using its built-in 7.4 kilowatt capacity onboard charger, the battery can be replenished via a 7.4 kilowatt wall box with AC current in 1 hour 45 minutes from 10 to 100%. Using DC charging at 24 kilowatts, charging from 10 to 80% takes only around 25 minutes. Charging from a domestic 3-pin socket, though, you'll need about 5.5 hours to completely fill the battery. GLA 250E drivers get access to the Mercedes Me Charge network, and that can be accessed either via the Mercedes Me app or by using the MBUX screen in the vehicle. Mercedes Me Charge provides access to over 300,000 charging points across Europe without the need for multiple accounts and RFID cards, and incorporates multiple charging networks, including Polar, which is the UK's largest. A year's membership of the Ionity Rapid Charging Network comes included in the purchase price. At the time of this test in spring 2021, there were around 400 Ionity quick charge stations along the main traffic arteries in Europe. Keep everything charged up, and Mercedes reckons that 90% of regular commuting journeys in a GLA 250E could be done without using the petrol engine at all. As a result, the quoted WLTP combined cycle fuel reading is rated at 201.8 mpg, and your CO2 emissions will be rated at just 32 grams per kilometre. That'll mean a super low 10% BIK tax rating. By comparison, the GLA 200 diesel and petrol variants have BIK ratings of 31% and 37% respectively. For the GLA 220D 4MATIC diesel, it's 32%. For this PHEV, business customers will get 100% first-year capital allowances, and there'll also be no road fund licence to pay. And it'll qualify for a 100% cleaner vehicle discount within the London congestion charge zone. Add everything up and you should be looking at overall running costs which are about a third less than a directly comparable conventional petrol or diesel model. And that means that once you've got past this plug-in model's premium asking price, it's not hard to see its financial attractions. If Mercedes could have made this plug-in GLA variant a little more affordable, we'd have had no hesitation recommending it as a go-to model in the range. After all, there's lots to like here: superb refinement, clean emissions which lead to super low BIK taxation, and the appealing prospect of largely fuel-free commuting mileage. Even as it is, this GLA 250E could make more sense than a conventional model once you add up whole life costs on a finance deal. The era of plug-in hybrid technology may be relatively short-lived. Much of Europe plans to ban hybrid engines by 2035, but right here, right now, it's the approach to electrification that makes most sense for an awful lot of buyers. But upfront costs need to be driven down if wider consumer uptake on PHEV models like this one is to be realised. If you don't mind paying the premium though, with a GLA 250E, you'll get a premium package in return.